high classification houses. Those are the houses with dudes that had all the homicides at that time. Obviously, that had attempted murder, big name, brim gang members back then, 𝗏𝗡𝗥𝗍, you know, coming back down. It was crazy in these houses. He had his head down, but every one or two people he passed, boom, a walk of shame. But in reality, we are the shameful ones. Obviously, this is the time when I turned Muslim. So after I turned Muslim in about November, in reality, how much money was it for you to just put the hit out? Getting all of the drugs in, was it really worth it to have that on your plate? Remembers, he probably doesn't remember. I was involved, that he forgive me, man, wherever he may be, you know.
باب مفتوح للاجتهادات التقريب. هذا حد العالم، هذا طالب، هذا راسخ وإلى آخره.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. To all the RipRightHD disciples, YouTubers, and viewers, welcome back to a new video on RipRightHD. Okay, guys, back again with another story. This one is more so a story, but it's also lessons in my story dealing with prison. Unfortunately, this is a disgusting story, and it's about myself. Obviously, I'm 37 years old. I went to jail when I was around 18. Yeah, 18. And before that, I've been in jail a few different times too. But this was my time where I really did the most time out of all. Obviously, this is the time when I turned Muslim. So after I turned Muslim in about November, I still wasn't practicing my religion as I was supposed to. I didn't know no better. I turned Muslim for whatever reasons, you know. You watched the video. If you didn't watch the video, go check it out in my prison playlist on why I turned Muslim and how I turned Muslim. So once I turned Muslim and I got to the adults, I turned 19, I went to the adults. I went to a few different houses. They were all the same houses, but they switched this up. We was in 4 main, 4 upper. We was also in 5 main, and we was also in 3 upper. There were 2 high classification houses. Those are the houses with dudes that had all the homicides at that time. Obviously, that had attempted murder. So my classification was like a 27, 26. So that was considered high classification. You had Nat Turner, Brim City, you know, all of these big name brim gang members. Back then, 𝗏𝗡𝗥𝗍, you know, coming back down. It was crazy in these houses. So each unit would have 2 sides, a north side and a south side. So I believe at this time we were in 5 main, and that was the first house I went to. So when I got there, it was X5. It was a Muslim brother named Tim. At the time, he wasn't really doing all the things that he was supposed to be doing. The police were bringing him in pounds and pounds of tobacco, and what we would do is roll it up in the tops, and then, you know, we would give them out for phone calls, for commissary, all kind of things. So when I kind of came to that housing unit, I was still on the adolescent mind state, ready to duff somebody out. Didn't care about anything, always ready to fight, you know, just because you're on Rikers Island. So when I got to the house, you know, I got up with these 2 brothers. It was Tim and it was another Muslim brother. The other Muslim brother, he was from the Bronx. I guess he was Crip before, turned Muslim. I can't remember his name. So when I got with them, you know, because, you know, that's how it is. You get to a specific spot, you get with your people. You blood, you go with the bloods. You Crip, you go with the Crips. So I went with the Muslim brothers, all right? And Tim was running the house as far as drug paraphernalia, weed. He had it, the weed and the tobacco. He had that joint on lock, and he had met this female, and she was also doing things for him on the outside. He constantly was on visits, and so when I got to the house, you know, Tim kind of like put me on. He like, yo, it goes down here, and I was like, what you mean? He like, every day, every other day, somebody is going to get washed up, meaning somebody is going to get beat down. Something is going to happen. And I'm like, yeah. No, lo and behold, the next day, a situation. Lo and behold, one day go by, the next day, a situation. So now I'm kind of rocking out with Tim. I'm rolling up all his tobacco. So with that being said, I'm also getting my own tobacco. At that time, I'm still smoking tobacco myself, and I'm also selling it to get commissary. And then I got my family giving me whatever they had to give me. So Tim might sell something to this dude, do stuff for this dude, get phone calls, sell for commissary, sell for money on his books. And he was dealing with a guy, and this goes back to my last story, not really doing drugs or just staying away from that. He owed Tim some money. And this is where it gets bad, because Tim wasn't a fighter. Tim was a good dude, smooth talker, old head. We used to just play, play cards all day. And he had owed Tim some money, and he was like, "Yo, it's gonna drop. The money's gonna drop. I'm telling you." She said she did it. So on Rikers Island or in prison, remember, you have to rely on your peoples. Your peoples, they have to be golden. They have to be solid. If you're in business with people doing all kind of illegal things, or even if it's not illegal, you might say, "Yo, guy, I want to buy that whole bag of commissary. My people's is gonna cash app you." Let's say like right now, that's what's going on. Cash app things a lot easier than it were back then. I think they used to have the Western Union wire. It was like a different scenario. So he had got some drugs from Tim. I don't know if it was just tobacco and weed, or just weed alone, or whatever the case may be. Tim like, "Yo, he owed me money. His deadline is so and so." Came to me like, "Yo, you ready?" And you know me, I'm like, "Yeah," because I was a soldier. When I was pulling up to the adults, they knew, "Yo, young boy right here, he's on go time. We're gonna use him. He's like a pop off dummy. He's a pistol." But I'm rolling with my people, so obviously I'm gonna be with them. I'm gonna protect them, and I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. That was my line of duty. Coming in, I was a hothead. So, what's crazy is that the whole house was on that same timing. So it wasn't like I had to do it by myself. But me not knowing this, I just waited till the day came. The money didn't show up, and they like, "Yo, he gotta go." So we go to a cell or whatever, and on Rikers Island, it's a very tight squeeze when you go to the cell blocks. It's cells on one side, cells on the next side. It's no upper or bottom tier. It's just one level. And I would say 5 feet, F that. Yeah, F that, 5 feet apart. Literally, a dude with a good hand span could stretch out both sides and touch to each cell. It's not that far apart. Cells all on this side, cells all on this side. So you got the Latin kings over here. They were vicious when it came to the weaponry, the stabbing, the ice picks, for the most part. And if you guys watched on one of my prison videos about the guy with the ring, they were all like involved in that when they were stabbing him in his hand, and all of that situation happened. So unfortunately, the guy that had owed the money, and I don't even know his name. I can't remember how he looked. I just remember that he had salt and pepper here. So he was an older guy. He could have been my father. He could have been my uncle. He was an older guy, And he was from upstate, so he already had a case, and I guess he got convicted for the case, and he went upstate. And sometimes they come down for different charges, or they come down for family court. People put in certain motions, and they'll come down to Rikers Island. And as soon as they come down, they from upstate, because they have on these brown sweatshirts and like these denim jeans, and they usually come in, and then they get with somebody that know them and give them some regular street clothes. So we beat him. We beat this old guy, man. Beat him. No remorse. Had fun. Was laughing, and it was like, to show you what goes on in there. Me at that stage in my life, 18, 19, some of the things that went on that I did, it was despicable. And it's not that it was just one person, on this guy. And it's not like he was a slim guy. The guy was hefty. Obviously, he wasn't fighting back because the whole house was back in the situation, because that's what they did, because Tim at the time was bringing in all of the drugs. So everybody kind of was like in line with what was going on. And you had the Latin Kings on one side, you had a couple of the blacks and the Bloods on the next side. And after it was time to get it, after putting the work in, he was leaving the cell, and he had to pack his stuff and to get out of there. Older guy, he had to be in like 18 or 19 cells, so that was like a little bit down the hall. So there were guys lined up on each side. And when he was leaving with his bag, he had his head down, but every one or two people he passed, boom, he might fall, get up, walk, boom. And it was like he went down the walk of shame. But in reality, we are the shameful ones, man. Even if this guy owed you money, and mind you, the guy at the time, Tim, Tim was a good dude, but in reality, how much money was it, for you to just put the hit out? You were getting all of the drugs in. Was it really worth it to have that on your plate? Me as a youngin', definitely getting involved in that foolishness that I didn't even have to get involved in. Was it worth it? Or when you die, or you're gonna be questioned, like myself included. There's so much things that I hope that God can forgive me for. And he walked down that line of shame, man, and he was getting hit and hit until he got past everybody, man, falling, getting up, falling. And the next day, the money came through. The money came through. Just a little more patience, a little more understanding. But how could you have understanding when you indulged in fawahish? You're indulging all of the wrong things, in anyway. So obviously your whole focus and everything is cloudy. There's nobody there with the right state of mind. It's put in pain. This dude owes me money for some illegal substance anyway. I'm not going to take that loss. No, he got to pay in blood. That's how we think. So now I asked the guy, if he's still living, or, he probably remembers, he probably doesn't remember. I was involved, that he forgive me, man, wherever he may be, and it's a serious situation, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost to forgive us, and not to put our sins out there, but just to show you and give you guys the reason why we bringing these things up, is to show you how serious it is, how one of us could have just hit him and he could have died, he could have hit his head. This has happened. Could have been facing more time, 8, 9 years, 10 years for something foolish. And nobody knew. I didn't know how much money he owed. We're gonna shut this down right here. I thought I ran out of storage, but obviously it was still taping. So guys, let that be a lesson. Stay out of jail. And if you end up in jail, especially if it's for something you didn't do, or if it's something you did do, repent, ask God for forgiveness, and also stay away from indulging in drugs and owing people and paying debts and gambling and the things of that nature. Read, retain, get out, and do something successful. Stay tuned. Stay ripped. 6-pack, big back, big facts.
Indeed, in the body, literal translation, is a lump of flesh, a piece of meat. إِذَا صَلَحَتْ صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. And when that lump of flesh